With the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Being home to so many different kinds of monsters, it might be surprising that we've never gotten a werewolf archetype. Sure, there is no shortage of wolf monsters, in fact one of them is just straight up wolf, and we definitely have a handful of werewolf monsters for some reason. I don't think we've really gotten clarification as to why these guys are called werewolf instead of werewolf, but even then these guys don't really work well together. Pitch Black Werewolf and Gene Warped Werewolf are pretty decent level 4 monsters, but don't do too much beyond that. TG Werewolf is a great free monster to enable further summoning, and Ghost Trick Werewolf is a ghost trick. So playing all of these cards together in a single deck wouldn't do a whole lot. We do also have Lycanthrope, a level 6 ritual monster that after inflicting battle damage, deals an additional 200 for each normal monster in the graveyard. A decent monster that you could hypothetically build a deck around to serve as a win condition, but it's still not what I'm looking for. So yeah, I've taken it into my own hands to create a werewolf archetype. The vampires have had it good for too long. I want this archetype to have gameplay and mechanics that fit the theming of lycanthropy in visuals and concept. Slapping a werewolf monster right onto the field would be effective, but it entirely gets rid of the whole point. The werewolf isn't scary because it's a big creature, it's scary because it's a perversion of humanity. The fact that any person could give in and become a beast, then hide among the normal humans during the day. More recently, there's even been a bigger emphasis on the horror of the transformation itself. It's integral at this point. I thought that it would be cool to have a series of human monsters that become werewolves during the battle phase and then revert back to their human forms. And then I looked over at my friend playing Dragon Maids right next to me and realized that idea would have worked had I thought of it first. Over in Magic the Gathering, they have a transformation mechanic, but get this, every werewolf is actually a double-sided card and they get flipped from one form to another as dictated by a day and night cycle that's tracked separately. Like they even print these day-bound, night-bound blank cards that have a card back meant to shuffle into the deck and substitute for the werewolves that are set to the side. Absolutely insane. Needless to say, I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going to take any notes from them, so I started thinking about the social card game, Werewolf. If you've never played, basically you get together with a group of people who are all assigned individual roles. Most are villagers, while 1 or 2 are werewolves. These roles are kept secret and the villagers attempt to identify the werewolves and eliminate them, while the werewolves attempt to eliminate the villagers while turning them against each other. So what if I took this concept as the basis of the archetype? I present to you the Moonfall archetype. Most of the monsters would be villagers that contribute to summoning more of themselves onto the field or searching each other out. They want to stay together thinking there's safety in numbers. I would also give them effects that trigger if they're sent to the graveyard. The point of this theming is to have a werewolf hiding among a group of people, so of course most of them are going to end up dying. Because this would be a village full of different people, I thought that there wouldn't be a singular attribute or type that unifies them all. I was kind of inspired by how Crusadia is built, being composed of various monster types but all working together toward a single goal. But if I were to create even more of these, I wouldn't be opposed to reusing the warrior type or the earth or light attribute because it fits just regular humans. So I've gone and made 4 Moonfall villagers to start us off with. They're all split into 2 effects that are each hard once per turns. Alden is an earth warrior that gives a little attack boost on summon and once sent to the graveyard, destroys a spell or trap on the field. And Lyra is a light spellcaster that can summon another villager from the hand and once sent to the graveyard returns a spell card from the graveyard to the hand. Orion is an earth warrior that can be special summoned if you control a villager, and once sent to the graveyard destroys a monster on the field. The second effect I modeled after the hunter from the werewolf card game. Lastly comes Selene that I based on the seer. It has a first effect to look at the top card of the opponent's deck and either put it back or swap it with the bottom of the deck. As a form of a little disruption that doesn't do too much but is still thematic. But the effect is that when it's sent to the graveyard, it summons another villager from there as well. You'll also notice I made this one a level 3 psychic monster because I really like emergency teleport and it always pissed me off that Maximus was a level 4. On top of that, I made all the graveyard effects if instead of when to make sure that they trigger. Look, it's my archetype and I'm also kind of justifying things by being hard once per turns. Again, this is what I imagine a first wave of support might look like. But now that we've got a decent amount of little monsters, it's time to talk about the werewolf. So I present to you Moonfall Alpha Werewolf. And for this monster I honestly really just wanted to try out the cool summoning conditions that are on the Awakening of the Possessed monsters, where they require you to send certain monsters face up on the field to the graveyard in order to summon them either from the hand or deck. In this case it would be 2 Moonfall villagers that you control. I see this as one of them actually being the werewolf and then immediately attacking the other once they transform. This werewolf also has 2 effects, one that sets a Moonfall spell or trap from the deck on summon and the other is a monster negate that requires discarding a Moonfall villager as cost. And that's all for the monsters, at least for now. I hope that things are at least a little balanced, but I mostly wanted to keep it consistent and thematic. I need to actually test things a bit more, but I think this is a good starting point for expanding from here. But I did also make some spell and trap cards. Moonfall Village is a field spell for the archetype that once per turn gives you a special summon from the hand or graveyard. It also allows you to swap one Moonfall Villager in your hand for a different one in the deck. That seems like a weird little effect to tack on, but it lets you put the werewolf back in your deck should you draw it and still be able to summon it, while giving a little more search power as if the deck didn't already have that with generic spells. Then comes Moonfall Full Moon, which gives the werewolf an attack boost and a bit of immunity as well as replacing it when it leaves the field. This is normally the card you're meant to search for with its effect. That basically turns it into a boss monster but maintains the vulnerability by being a separate card on the field. Lastly is a trap card Moonfall Slash, which is basically an Icarus attack except it returns the monsters to the hand and only works with beast type Moonfall monsters. My thought process for this was a form of removal that can also trigger Full Moon's replacement while at least keeping the wolf on hand to summon again. So that's my werewolf archetype. Again, it took me a while to think things through and plan them out, but I'm pretty happy with it so far. While there is only one werewolf for now, it still has the overall theming that I think was really necessary. In the future, I'd love to create 1 or 2 more actual werewolf monsters and some more spells and traps, because I feel like it needs that final big push to really work. But I mean, I'm already missing the Halloween deadline I set for myself with this video. I need to put it out during Dia de los Muertos, which I'm allowed to get away with. So let me know if you'd like to see me continue playing around with custom archetypes like this, and if you'd like to see another wave of support for Moonfall Village. I think this is a really fun little project, and who knows, maybe in future iterations, I could get some better art rather than just borrowing them from other games and maybe even build some lore. Also, any suggestions in the comments would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, this is GatorX, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later.